Hello, my name is Mrs. Bartholomew Tetley Jones, and I am here to present to you a fantastic experience, the reading and performance of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, brought to you by Riverside Unified School District's Visual and Performing Arts Department. Enjoy.
Chapter 4. The Rabbit Sends in a Little Bill. It was the White Rabbit, trotting slowly back again, and looking anxiously about as it went, as if it had lost something. And she heard it muttering to itself, "The Duchess! The Duchess! Oh, my dear paws! Oh, my fur and whiskers! She'll get me executed, as sure as ferrets are ferrets! Where can I have dropped them, I wonder?" Alice guessed in a moment that it was looking for a fan and a pair of white kid gloves, and she very good-naturedly began hunting about for them. But they were nowhere to be seen. Everything seemed to have changed since her swim in the pool, and the great hall, with the glass table and little door, had vanished completely. Very soon the rabbit noticed Alice as she went hunting about, and called out to her in an angry tone, "Why, Marianne, what are you doing out here? Run home this moment and fetch me a pair of gloves and a fan. Quick now!" And Alice was so much frightened that she ran off at once in the direction it pointed to, without trying to explain the mistake it had made. "He took me for his housemaid," she said to herself as she ran. "How surprised he'll be when he finds out who I am. But I better take him his fan and gloves. That is, if I can find them." As she said this, she came upon a neat little house, on the door of which was a bright brass plate with the name W. Rabbit engraved upon it. She went in without knocking and hurried upstairs, in great fear lest she meet the real Marianne and be turned out the house before she had found the fan and gloves. "How queer it seems," Alice said to herself, "to be going messages for a rabbit. I suppose Dina will send me on messages next." And she began fancying the sort of thing that would happen. "Miss Alice, come here directly and get me ready for your walk." "Coming in a minute, nurse. But I've got to watch this little mouse hole until Dina comes back and see that the mouse doesn't get out." Only, I don't think, Alice went on, that they'd let Dina stop in the house if it began ordering people about like that. By this time she had found her way into a little room with a table in the window, and on it, as she had hoped, a fan and 2 or 3 pairs of tiny white kid gloves. She took up the fan and the pair of gloves, and was just going to leave the room when her eye fell upon a little bottle that stood near the looking-glass. There was no label this time with the words "Drink me," but nevertheless she uncorked it and put it to her lips. "I know something interesting is sure to happen," she said to herself, "whenever I eat or drink anything, so I'll just see what this bottle does. I do hope it will make me grow large again, for I really am quite tired of being such a tiny little thing." It did so indeed, and much sooner than she had expected. Before she had drunken half the bottle, she found her head pressing against the ceiling and had to stop to save her neck from being broken. She hastily put down the bottle, saying to herself, "That's quite enough. I hope I shan't grow any more. As it is, I can't get out the door. I do wish I hadn't drunk quite so much." Alas, it was too late to wish that. She went on growing and growing, and very soon had to kneel on the floor. In another minute there was not even room for this, and she tried the effect with laying down with one elbow against the door and the other arm curled around her head. Still, she went on growing, and as a last resource, she put one arm out the window and one foot up the chimney, and she said to herself, "Now I can do no more, whatever happens. What will become of me?" Luckily for Alice, the little magic bottle had now had its full effect, and she grew no larger. Still, it was very uncomfortable, and there seemed to be no sort of chance of ever getting out the room again. No wonder she felt unhappy. It was much pleasanter at home, she thought, poor Alice, when one wasn't always growing larger and smaller, being ordered about by mice and rabbits. I almost wish I hadn't gone down that rabbit hole. And yet, it's rather curious, you know, this sort of life. I do wonder what can happen to me. I used to read fairy tales. I fancied that what kind of thing never happened. And now here I am in the middle of one. There ought to be a book written about me. That they're out. When I grow up, I'll write one. But I'm grown up now, she added in a sorrowful tone. At least there's no more room to grow up anymore here. But then, thought Alice, shall I never get any older than I am now? That'll be a comfort one way, never to be an old woman. But then, always have lessons to learn. Oh, I shouldn't like that. Oh, you foolish Alice, she answered herself. How can you learn lessons in here? Why, there's hardly any room for you, and no room at all for lesson books. And she went on, taking one first side and then the other, making quite a conversation of it altogether. But after a few minutes she heard a voice outside and stopped to listen. "Marianne, Marianne," said the voice. "Fetch me my gloves this moment." Then came a little pattering of feet on the stairs. Alice knew that it was the rabbit coming to look for her, and she trembled till she shook the house, quite forgetting that she was now 1,000 times as large as the rabbit and had no reason to be afraid of it. Presently the rabbit came back to the door and tried to open it, but the door opened inwards, and Alice's elbow pressed hard against it, and that attempt proved a failure. Alice heard it say to itself, "Then I'll go round and get in the window." "That you won't," said Alice, and after waiting till she fancied she heard the rabbit just under the window, she suddenly spread out her hand and made a snatch in the air. She did not get hold of anything, but she heard a little shriek and a fall, and a crash of broken glass, from which she concluded that it was just possible it had fallen into a cucumber frame, or something of the sort. Next came an angry voice, the rabbit's. "Pat! Pat! Where are you?" And then a voice she had never heard before. "Sure then, I'm here, digging for apples, your honor." "Digging for apples, indeed," said the rabbit angrily. "Here, come help me out of this." Sounds of more broken glass. "Now tell me, Pat, what's in the window?" "Sure, it's an arm, your honor." "An arm, you goose. Whoever saw one that size? Why, it fills the whole window." "Sure it does, your honor, but it's an arm for all that." "Well, it's got no business here, at any rate. Go and take it away." There was a long silence after this, and Alice could only hear whispers now and then, such as, "Sure, I don't like it, your honor, at all. Do as I tell you, you coward." And at last she spread out her hand again and made another snatch in the air. This time there were 2 little shrieks, and more sounds of broken glass. "What a number of cucumber frames there must be," thought Alice. "I wonder what they'll do next. As for pulling me out the window, I only wish they could. I'm sure I don't want to stay in here any longer."